Well, talking with Denard man and Angel Pagan, they both seem receptive to if there might be a change in the outfield, and you got to like that professionally from these two players.
Well, you do. They are professionals, excuse me. But it's all about getting things to work out, and these two are going to help us in the outfield, and we just think it's the best way to go. And Angel, I think he's so athletic. I think he can do a great job in left field, and to have two center fielders out there, that's a nice luxury. So I just think. It shows a little bit about Angel, how unselfish he is, and he's willing to do whatever for the ball club.
How much of a relief is that for you that they're both on board? That's not an issue that you have to deal
Well, I can't say relief. It's never easy when you're asking a player to, make a position change. But we've done that in the past, and these guys have done an unbelievable job of accepting that, and either from starters going to the bullpen to help out, or we've mixed it up in the bullpen and, changed the closing situation, and they've been all in on that, and no one's ever complained, and, that's the way it's got to work. And these guys have always been willing to set aside their own agenda and do what's best for the ball club, and that's the only way it's going to work. And the only way Angel's going to be a really good left fielder, he's got to be all in on it, which he is.
Can you share with us your state of address in the clubhouse before the troops ran out on the field?
Well, I mean, we talked about a few things. I don't want to go into what all we talked about. That's inside the clubhouse. That's why we have a closed-door meeting there. But, if you look at this team, Bobby Evans did a great job of assembling this club. He had the depth to the rotation, to the outfield. I think we have, some good choices as far as who's going to be on the bench. And, I'm sure more is expected out of us, which they should. It's a really good ball club, and it's going to be a tough division with teams in this division and improvements made here. But we expect more out of ourselves than what anyone else expects out of us. That's who we are, and you got to go out there and do it. But it's a very solid club, and every spring I think it's fair to say you might have in the back of your mind, does this team have a chance to go to where you want to go? And that's all you can ask. And you look at the talent in that room, that's certainly the case.
You ever look at that and just kind of, just off the page, the roster, and say to yourself, damn, that's a hell of a lineup.
Well, it is, and I was proud of these guys last year with all that we had to go through, and still hang in there until the last week. And this year we have those guys back, really guys that we probably couldn't afford to miss, and so it's nice to have them back. And as I mentioned, our new players that have joined us, and so we filled some holes. And but like I said, there's a lot of good teams out there in our division, outside our division, and but we certainly think a lot of ourselves.
Is that reassuring organizationally that they identify something and they go out and get it? I mean, you do that at the trade deadline too. I mean, I'm sure you've been in organizations where that's not always the case, where the priority is let's get the
Oh,
pieces
no
we
question. No, ownership, front office, they really chosen to help us out any way they can, and they did that. They're for us, and so now it's up to us to go out there and play like we're capable of playing. And there's nothing easy. You understand that, but this is a tough group, good group, humble group that will come out here and work every day. And they'll give it all they have, and we'll see what happens.
I know it's the first workout with all the guys, but what did you want to see out there today?
Just a little hop to the step. Have a good crisp workout, which I saw. It went smoothly. A lot of times you get a lot of lost puppies on the different fields. Not sure quite where to go, but it was run very well. Ronnie did a great job on this first day, and because you have a lot of newcomers that are trying to get adjusted to the workouts here, so that's all I was looking for. And these guys put in a good day's work. That's all you can ask every day.
One day, did anyone pique your interest at all?
I can't say one guy did. They all did a nice job of getting after it, and like I said, they really had a nice hop to their step, as I said, just the way they moved from field to field and put in a good day's work.
Hunter was saying how anxious he is to get back on the field after the injury last year. Is he a guy you got to kind of watch out for because he is so overamped all the time?
Yeah, I don't think so. You know, Hunter's going to be Hunter. I mean, you can't change him. You're not going to slow him down. And you want him to go, as we call him, full throttle. That's who he is. And, you know, he's a leader on this club. So, you know, he's not going to change anything. We don't want him to change. So it's going to be good to have him back. And Joe Panic and these guys that we were missing last year.
Commissioner talked a little bit yesterday about the second base slides and trying to reduce injuries there. Is there anything you're concerned with about trying to make a rule for that, or are you happy that the baseball is doing something with it?
No, I'm happy they're doing something with it. I think we saw what happened last year. I think, you know, there's areas that we have to protect these guys a little bit. I mean, we're getting some pretty bad injuries. You know, started behind the plate, and I think that's worked out well. And so I think, you know, a little adjustment there at second base and making sure they slide is the way to go.
What are you thinking right now in terms of carrying a fifth outfielder and what you're looking for?
You know, Bobby and I talked a little bit about it yesterday. You know, that's a question that we certainly can answer as we get toward the end of spring training. You know, what's going to better serve us? An extra outfielder, a catcher, even maybe a 13th pitcher. All these things will come into play, and we'll see where we're at. But we have a lot of good options here. A lot of good kids coming up through our system, 6-year free agents. So it's going to be competitive out there on probably the last couple spots.
Is Blake's going to be first or left or both? Or?
We'll slow play him. You know, he's coming off injury, but he'll play probably more first base. But I like to work him out in the outfield too. You know, I'll see where he's at with his legs, and but in the early go, I'll probably play him more at first.
What do you think we'll see more of in the outfield this spring, Tomlinson or Belt?
I would say,
Both and neither are also acceptable answers.
yeah. You know, I'd say that's a toss-up, right? And I don't mean to be on the fence on that, but, you know, with where we're at in the outfield, I don't know how much I'll put Bell out there. But, you know, in certain pitchers, I would like to give him some work here. So I'm comfortable putting him out in the outfield. I think with Tomlinson, he has enough on his plate to, you know, to learn third base and play some shortstop. You know, I don't want to overwork him. You know, he's trying to make this club, and so I'd say outfield's on the back burner for him right now.
Would you like to keep outfield open for Belt just because you'll have days where you'll have to play Buster at first and maybe Belt's going good and you don't want to take him out of the lineup?
Yeah, well, you'll see Susak get some work at first base too. But you always want to keep your options open. And the fact that we have some versatility here with those guys makes it easier to do those things you're talking about. And you know, and they're great about it. And you know, Belt, he'll do all he can to stay in the lineup. Trust me. So he'll want to play some outfield.
I know you always talk about keeping it competitive and giving the kids a chance out there. But do you still kind of feel, I think at the end of the year you talked about Parker and Williamson could be served from playing every day a little bit in the minors?
Yeah, again, we'll see where we're at the end. I mean, of course, Parker gives you a power left-handed bat. Now Williamson, it's you know, he's a guy. It's fair to say. I think we think he's probably better served. And I hate for him to hear this, so I'll try to grab him once I'm done with you guys. That you know, to go to AAA and get a full year there. But you know, these are questions that, again, as we get deeper into this spring, I can answer.
The entire infield homegrown. I think 27 or 40 on this roster come up through the organization. How key is that for chemistry in the clubhouse and on the field?
Oh, I think it's critical. I mean, to have as many homegrown products as we've put out in the last 4 or 5 years, and you know, it's really incredible. I mean, you go back to Posey, Bumgardner, and more recent, you look at Panic and Duffy. A kid like Tomlinson comes up. He does a great job. And then you look at the pitchers like Osage and Strickland. It does do a lot, I think, for the chemistry of a ball club. These guys came up together, or they came up as giants. So they know our way, and we have known them before they come up through the major league camp. So no question, that's a nice way to go.
Thanks, boss.